Hello and welcome to today's meeting hosted by For the Region. Today we're talking about the region's construction sector, and this is part of our series of monthly lunchtime meetups. As you know, we're gathering together as an alliance, as a movement on the third Thursday of every month to discuss a different topic, a different opportunity area. For the region's theme for the year, as I'm sure you've heard me say, our theme for 2024 is opportunities. It's a year of focusing on, amplifying and co-creating opportunities for people and for businesses in South West Wales to thrive. And each month we're talking about a different sector or opportunity area. And looking forward to hearing from people and organisations and businesses across the region about the challenges, the reasons for collaboration and the opportunities. Where do you see opportunities for people and businesses? What are you excited about? And the broad thread that's going to run through the year is that key question of how can we collaborate to address those challenges and opportunity areas, to make the most of those opportunities. How can we better collaborate and join up across South West Wales for the broader benefit of our communities, for people across the region, for our environment, and for addressing those big challenges of our time. Construction is a topic we return to again and again because it is a key opportunity area for South West Wales. And today's discussion will be exploring kind of what are the key issues and opportunities that really demand and require our collaboration, like what feels important for you in all of this, and what's already happening. So hopefully colleagues can share interesting updates and great examples of good practice and events and other opportunities, and we can help to sort of amplify those across our networks. And then let's think about what success looks like. What's our vision? What are we trying to achieve for South West Wales? How can we co-create that happier, healthier region with a thriving economy? And our view For the Region, of course, is that it's all about working together. The future of our region is in all of our hands, and as businesses, organisations, community groups and people, change makers, there's so much that we can achieve in terms of our well-being economy and the well-being of future generations and the prosperity and well-being of the region as a whole. We can just work together and strengthen those networks of collaboration and communication across South West Wales. The sector, the construction sector, is itself facing challenges, and I'm expecting to hear some of that from you guys today. Is it a shortage of skills? Are there supply chain opportunities for local businesses that aren't being capitalised on? Is it not enough people choosing to work in the sector? Is there something about the values, the ethos, the culture of the sector? There's presumably something about the need to grow robust regional firms that can win public sector and large contracts in our region. And is enough being done to move away from large tier one contractors and some of the problems with that model towards developing really strong local supply chains, regional supply chains? And how can the sector deliver social value for our region in terms of local and green supply chains and a move towards that sustainable construction? Surely that is an opportunity area. But I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you about where you see the key opportunities and challenges, what you think needs to be done, how we better collaborate to address some of those, and perhaps some people will share off-the-wall ideas and perspectives on the opportunities for this sector, and I'm here for that. So looking forward to hearing from everybody this afternoon. But our first question really is that purpose question. Why is this conversation important? And I'd like you to just grab a pen and a post-it note or a scrap of paper and just jot down a few thoughts for yourselves in response to that first question. Our first question is, why is it important that we collaborate? Why does this meeting feel important to you, this conversation? Why does it feel important? What do you feel are those issues and opportunities in the construction sector that demand our collaboration? Why is it important to come together in a conversation like this and what are those key issues and opportunities that demand and require better collaboration across South West Wales. So why does this meeting feel important for you? Jot down a few thoughts for yourselves, and then we'll get into some discussion. Gus, I can see your hand up there.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Dawn. There's a few things. We're in our little breakout room. We had a couple of people who are involved in the sort of the skills and training part of it. And I think, and certainly something I've seen, you know, there are a huge amount of different things going on and initiatives in terms of skills and training. You know, there are various layers of government to navigate and various not-for-profit, for-profit organisations that support various initiatives. So I think one of the big collaboration pieces is it's very difficult for businesses to navigate the support that's available for them out there and who they should be talking to and what works and what doesn't work. So I think one of the things we came out was it really useful for businesses in the same industry to share their success stories and some of this. So, you know, I think from my perspective, we often meet a bit of a wall of cynicism when it comes to businesses looking for what support's out there. They tend to think it's a lot of effort for not very little gain. So sharing the success stories and helping each other navigate the support that's out there and some of those sorts of things is an important part of sort of collaboration and forums like this.
Absolutely, and sharing those opportunities across a wider network. Thanks so much, Gus. Who else?
Yeah, I think I'll just you also touched on, I think, one of the big things, which is the public sector contracting is obviously very important in this part of the world, and making sure that we're using more local businesses within the public sector. And I know various councils and things are looking at the ways they do that, but I think it's really, really important that every business in this sector builds up contacts with local government, with the capital regions, with the Welsh government, and some of those sorts of things. Because I think pushing the public sector towards local supply chains, something that's happening. I think it's happening slowly, but it's definitely something we need to collaborate and push on.
Absolutely, well said. Thanks, Gus. Why does this meeting feel important to you? Who would like to share some thoughts? Mike, yes, please do come in.
Yeah, no, it's really good that we are trying to, use the circular economy, especially in construction. A few of you on the call will know me, but 10 years ago, I was one of the project leads on the new Bay campus on Fabian Way, and we had a target of 80% local spend in Welsh pound. We managed to achieve 97% Welsh spend, and I think 92% was within Swansea Bay region. There's certain companies like lift companies, you don't get them in Swansea, or piling contractors. So, we can't do much about that. But certainly things, steel, brick, everything else came locally. Lots of good meet the buyer events. I think the problem we tend to find is that, especially when it comes to government and council procurement, is that they set the targets and then it's easy to fudge it, because every national company has a Cardiff office or a Swansea office, and you just chuck down the address of the Cardiff office and say, yeah, I use the Welsh contractor, even though all the money is going back to, I was going to say London, but a lot of times these days it's France the money goes to now, because they're French or German-owned companies. So I think if, what we need to do is really embrace the circular economy and the Welsh pound, not just nod our heads and tick a box to say, look what we've done. And I think that's going to be a big challenge, because there are plenty of great Welsh companies out there. I'm sitting in Neath Port Talbot now for the MPT people on board in Neath Abbey, and we try and buy all our PPE from local companies, not just local branches, but local companies are owned by people from Neath, and we buy a lot of all our products. We can't concrete, steel, everything's locally. And I'm not saying you can do that in every case, but I think if we can really try, but it's how we do that. That's all. Because especially in this time when profits are so hard to come by, it's trying to serve two masters. It's trying to spend Welsh and make money, which isn't always compatible.
Really important points. Thanks, Mike, and thanks for sharing your perspective on how easy it is to sort of fudge those figures and how to make those figures real and meaningful. And yeah, the issue of price and the sort of long-term value of local procurement over the short-term saving of competitive processes. James, do come in. Why does this conversation feel important to you?
Well, it feels important to me. I think it's important to celebrate the success within the construction industry, especially in Wales. I was at the event, the Swansea Bay City Deal event in Swansea Arena yesterday, where I met Zoe. We had a great catch up, and but it's good to see so much going on in the region. Some of which projects have been delivered. This is one for you, Mike, because actually I think John Burns was quoting something about 80% of spend in Wales on procurement. So actually, Fabian Way is doing a lot better. But it's actually made me think about maybe some of those companies are headquartered in Wales or maybe have an office. So I think it's really important to actually maybe fact check and to see, are they legitimate Welsh businesses? But John had presented this really big slide full of logos, and there were hundreds of companies on there. And he's saying, we're quite proud to say that these are Welsh companies. And from looking at that logo wall, it was good to see that there is an importance on working with Welsh companies. There's one just down the road with me. There's Pentre Awel, which is a development in Llanelli. I live in Llanelli, so it's exciting to see that. But Bouygues, I think is how you say it. I believe they're a French company. So it's like things like that. I'm kind of like, why not give it to a Welsh contractor? I don't know. I'm not in procurement, but it'd be nice to see these large projects go to bigger Welsh contractors. But I think it's exciting to see what's going on and how myself as a small business, I can benefit from some of these opportunities.
Really key there, you know, huge supply chain opportunities, I suppose, beyond strictly the construction sector, but for small businesses in all sorts of lines of work. And yeah, you've mentioned that challenge around those tier 1 contractors, and there's good practice, isn't there, going on, even when it's a larger contractor, to have genuinely local supply chains. But yeah, I appreciate these conversation points coming out, and great to hear the progress at City Deal.
To carry on with that point, and the points raised by the previous two, James, and I've forgotten the other gentleman's name, sorry, Michael, sorry. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to speak just at the end a little bit about the opportunity in retrofit. But this is, you know, your main question was what's the benefit in collaboration? And I was speaking in my breakout room with Elvid from the Pobble Housing Group. And what's most important about collaboration and these kinds of meetings is to make sure that those who are buying know what the local market can and can't provide, in order that they can find procurement routes that work for them. At the end of the day, if you've got 500 houses that you need to spend a lot of money on, you need a contractor capable of dealing with 500 houses. And, you know, those contractors are harder to find. But if you say, oh, actually, there are a few around that could take, a lot of 100, perhaps we could break this down, perhaps we can approach it in a different fashion. Because I think everybody who takes part in these meetings is committed to the idea of spending the money locally and getting that money back round in the same economy. You know, if a company's going to make a profit, better that it's a local entrepreneur who then spends their money locally, you know, on local businesses, etc. And to that end, I think that's the key thing about collaboration. And I think that's the bit that I really want to start pushing, particularly in retrofit, is that we collaborate, we get in that conversation, because the market opportunity is so great. And if we pause one moment in our drive for this, those main contractors will be appointed elsewhere. And as I'll show in later, 25% of the value is taken by the main contractor, by the person who organises it all. And that goes in overheads and profits. But if those overheads and profits are fundamentally in England, yeah, and then they're paid, as James suggested, you know, Bouygues is a French company. They don't operate in Wales for any other reason than making profit and taking it back to France. You know, like Electricity de France, their purpose is not to serve the British people, it's to make profits that they can take back to Paris. And it's much better if those profits have been taken back to somebody and, companies that exist in West Wales.
Absolutely, keeping that spending regional. Thanks, William. Yeah, and you've mentioned retrofit. That is a key opportunity area, and I appreciate your point about the sort of urgent need for collaboration around that sort of opportunity. Leon, what would you like to say? Why is this?
Yeah, only a short one in terms of adding on to what's already been said. Obviously, we're IT support and we do with the IT side, but obviously in construction, when we're brought in early on, the better. But we also find the same in terms of there's some IT providers obviously will work in the Swansea area, but obviously their base is not Swansea. And if obviously it's a gutter, which is what's good about for the region, is making awareness for this. Is obviously I can say as a business, we are based in Wales, and the money stays within the economy and stays within Wales, but meetings like this within for the region is where you learn these things. So in terms of where you may think that, oh, that's a Welsh business, but people are busy and doing the research on who the contractor is. If they say that they're based in Swansea, it's easy enough to tick off, right, we've stayed local, but then everyone within this meeting will know going forward who the businesses are and who are the core ones based in the area. So, but just adding on.
Yeah, thanks, Leon. And that accountability is really important. And we've seen that with the Swansea Bay City deal, you know, a real focus, a real call from the beginning for a focus on local supply chain. And in John Burns' presentations, you can see, as was mentioned, the number of firms that have been engaged with. So that accountability is so important, isn't it? Would anyone else like to share some thoughts to kick off our meeting in terms of, you know, why this feels important? What are those issues and opportunities? Yes, Peter, I'd like to bring you in from the Swansea Bay City deal.
Yeah. So, thanks for the reference in yesterday's event, which was a big success. So thanks for that one. Yeah. So what I would just like to say to start off the meeting is that there's two things what just been said. We mustn't forget that this collaboration does already happen. We shouldn't be thinking that it doesn't happen. We should be looking at how we grow it, but not kicking the large tier one contractors for who they are and what they are, because they do their best to employ local people. And some of the figures that have been bandied around are right. And we have to accept that if a client goes out with a 80 or 90 or 100 million pound contract, there aren't that many contractors based in Wales that can handle that amount of risk and that amount of liability. And that's the practical reality of it. What's important is that the client, whether it be a local authority or a university or health board in the case of the city deal, that the client makes it clear in the procurement process that they do expect a high level of local pound spend. And that does happen. But we also have to accept that there are a lot of local companies that aren't or haven't got the capacity to meet the package demands when they go out. So it's important as well that as contractors break down packages, as Buckingham, bless their cotton socks, did with the arena contract when there was some housing refurb to do. Excuse me, I'm a bit hoarse after yesterday's event. They broke some of the packages down to really small painting and decorating contracts and things like that. So local companies, smaller local companies, could actually feasibly bid and get involved in that project in a small way. So it is happening. And having worked with the local authorities, this is one of the conundrums. And this is perhaps where an event like this can kind of start thinking about how this can be improved. So Buckingham's won the contract with Swansea Council to build the arena, and they set quite a high local pound spend as part of their contract. But of course, when they initially come into the area, they don't have any local contacts, particularly a company like Buckingham. They've come in from England. They don't know the area at all. They don't know Wales at all, let alone South West Wales. So one of the first jobs we did with Swansea Council was to try and put together a package of local supply contacts. Now that might be individual companies, or it might be organisations like the Federation of Small Business, the usual suspects like that, and say to Buckingham, these are the people you've got to talk to, and then do your research in that area. And we, Swansea Council have got a supplier list. This is our supplier list. So we do as much as we can to make sure that the local contractors benefit. And it sometimes it works better than others. And the fudging of the figures that was mentioned earlier on, yes, it does happen. It happens quite a lot with some of the consultancy work that goes on in construction with architects and people like that, where they're brought in, but they have a Cardiff office, but they're a UK-based organisation. It does happen, but it's really up to local companies, and local companies know this from the discussions I've had, is to make sure that they're visible. Make sure that they are in a position to be able to take advantage of these kind of opportunities when they come up. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. But we have seen quite a lot of support companies moving down into South West Wales, not necessarily just because of the city deal, but because of other things that are happening that hit the radar and they go, oh, well, I'll have a local office down there, so I've got an ear to the ground. It's not a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just making sure that like the companies that are on this call are in a position to take advantage of that. And just something else on the collaboration side, we just briefly touched on collaborative working. The key thing that's important there is advanced notification of opportunities, because it's not easy to put a collaborative bid together in procurement. It takes a lot of time, and it's fraught with all sorts of problems. There are some good examples of where it's happened, but the key thing you need is time. And you might even need 3 years notice to get a group of companies to work together in a legally constituted way, so you could bid for that contract. So it does take a lot of time, and that's kind of part of the problem as well. The notices come to the market too late for collaborative working on that kind of level. So I suppose the takeaway from this part for me is, if you do fancy working as a collaborative group of companies, think about doing it now. Think about putting it together before there's even a bid to go for. Just think about getting a little network of companies together. And I know this happens. Small companies have their, everybody complains that the big companies bring in their supply chain. Small companies do it as well. So small SMEs have their own supply chain. A small construction company will know the chippy, they'll know the electrician, they'll know the plumbers that they want to work with, and they bring those to site. It's no different on a small scale than it is on a big scale. But to make that a coherent unit that can then work together so a group of small contractors can go into a bidding process takes quite a lot of time. And so that's something just to think about. I'll stop.
I challenge your approach to that to a certain extent, Peter, insofar as I'd like to see the procurement agent, as in those letting out the contracts, thinking about how local companies can be involved, and rather than simply bundling everything in the easiest manner that they can in order to de-risk the project, to look at intelligent boundaries and look at what they're going to demand. You say like a high number of Welsh pounds, pounds spent in the local economy. I don't think that really happens, and I think it only happens with the lowest level contracts. The things where, you give the example of painting, you go, right, okay, well, that's a very high labour content. It only works economically if it's somebody who's geographically close. If, however, you've got heating and ventilation where there's a good profit margin, the materials are expensive, the markup on the materials are expensive, and they go, oh, well, yeah, we'll bring that in from a contractor in England, then, the larger part has gone to England. And I think that can be procured better. And it's not to criticise you, it's just sort of the procurement process in general, and particularly the public procurement process, tends to be quite lazy and want one main contractor to de-risk everything for them, rather than putting more labour on their side into dividing lots up and specifying quite how it could be done. It's just a point of view. I'm not asking for a response.
Yeah,
Appreciate it pointed straight at you.
Yeah, we're up for the debate and discussion, and some good points there about putting the onus on the buyer to help. And I think there is good practice happening, and much more is needed too. So both true. Robert, would you like to come in?
John, thank you. I think in essence, and I'll try and be brief, I just wanted to support 100% what Peter Austin has said. Basically, yes, procurement in Wales represents an opportunity. I think there's somewhere between 6 to 7 billion of public spend per annum, and so that has an opportunity to make a difference within the economy of Wales, or indeed the local economies of Wales. But I support what Peter says, because reference was made to Weeks, and by the way, coincidentally, I was on site yesterday at Pentre Owl, just on the outskirts of Llanelli. It was a Construction Excellence Wales visit, and that is a major scheme that is being procured by Carmarthenshire County Council. If you go to their website, there's a reference to a project which will create over 800 jobs, training apprenticeship opportunities, and this is what it says on the website, boost the local economy by 467 million over the next 15 years. Now, that project is being procured by the local authority. They have a duty to procure with making a difference at the local level in mind. That is a duty that they have to respond to, and they have to think about organizations that have the wherewithal and the capacity and the skills to deliver a scheme of that size. Now, I'm not here, by the way, as a voice box for the contractor. I happened to just visit for the first time yesterday a site in progress, a site in the process of being developed, stage one. I did capture a couple of screenshots. There was a presentation and we went out onto site. And I'm just going to, if I may, Dawn, just read out some of the social value benefits, because I think in the past there was reference made to community benefits. It's now called social value. And this stems from the Social Value Act of 2012. But forgive me if I don't pretend to know all the jargon here, but this is what Weeks have delivered so far against their promises. 2,079 TR&T new entrant weeks delivered, 38 new job starts, of which 11 were long-term unemployed people. They've supported 10 times new apprenticeship opportunities with Whiteheads via Cuffler. Successful delivery of a 12-week real-world work experience with 5 Llanelli schools, which resulted in over 70 hours of mentor engagement, 590 pupil interactions, 90 hours of school engagement, over £1,000 fundraised donated to charity, coffee morning and food bank donations, 96 hours volunteering with community groups. Now, as I say, I'm not a voice box, but the local authority who have procured the contractor have to take account of capacity, they have to take account of skills, and they set the narrative. They set the rules, if you like, in terms of the procurement. They set the rules in terms of what they expect, not only the delivery of the construction project per se, but also the wider social and environmental benefits. And I'll just move quickly to a final sort of comment.
Quick final point then, Robert.
Yeah, which is that in relation to retrofitting, which has been mentioned in this conversation, does represent, a significant opportunity. And I think it was, I think there's a stat which suggests that there's something like 29 million buildings that need to be retrofitted before 2050 to hit the UK decarbonisation targets. And so the question is, are the skills in place, and what is being done locally to create those skills?
Really key opportunity area there that you've concluded with, and thank you, Robert, for those insights. Sid, would you like to come in? Why does this feel important to you?
Cool. Thank you, Dawn. I think just following on from comments that have been made, we've done quite a lot of research into supplier selection. And I don't know if anyone remembers the phase, nobody ever got fired for hiring IBM. I'm showing my age now, but if you go and Google that, and a lot of this is around the individual making the supplier selection will be nervous sometimes about going local to a small business, because if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, others may question why they chose that business. I mean, we've seen that obviously that can happen with much larger organizations as well. So there's a deeper thing around people being brave in their decisions on who they choose, going out with those local businesses that maybe haven't got the full infrastructure. But if, you know, for whatever reason doesn't go well, not being challenged by their line managers. And in public sector, it's much more evident that people are protecting the jobs, nervous what they do, you know, they've got line managers on them. So they go for the larger organizations. And as we've heard, well, often, you know, the small organizations just don't have the ability to meet the contractual obligations that happen. And I evidence that, you know, we see a lot on our platform. A number of people come to us and say, we need X, Y, Z locally, but we haven't got the time to do the due diligence. And we give them all the due diligence that we've done. So it makes the selection easier for them. But it's a lack of time. It's nervousness about what if it doesn't go well? Will my line manager or the people in my department question my choice? And we've just got to be braver in those choices, and go local and work with businesses to get it right.
You know, we have seen, haven't we, Sid, that it's not always a safe choice to choose a large contractor.
Yeah,
We've
exactly.
seen big failures of large contractors, and some of those examples have been alluded to. So we need to sort of reframe that idea about what a risk is. The risk is that we don't develop resilience in our region. The risk is that we don't use local firms and therefore turn around, as we are turning around, and finding that they don't exist at the sort of scale that we need. So yeah, reframing risk, the risk of not being bold and not thinking differently, we need to appreciate.
And we're probably, and you're right, Dawn, and we're probably preaching to the convert. The fact that all of us are here means that we're on that agenda where we want to work locally and benefit the local economy. But the people who are making the decisions, where are they, and what's their attitude to risk and ultimately job protection?
Thank you. It's been a really important conversation already, with a big focus on public sector procurement and stronger local supply chains. And we've alluded to the topic of retrofit, and in passing, we've mentioned skills. And, you know, surely one of the key challenges for the sector and the need for collaboration is specifically around skills. I wonder whether anyone would like to share any thoughts or insights on this challenge in particular. Are there opportunities for young people in our region to develop great careers in this sector? Are there opportunities in learning how to do some of these future skills and the retrofitting and the renewable energy? Is there a shortage of expertise? Are firms finding it difficult to recruit?
Yeah,
Tell me.
if I could just jump in, Dawn, I can't find with this new Zoom where the hands up thing is. I've been looking everywhere. So
You
this,
go.
yeah, when we met earlier this week, I think I mentioned to you then, is that there's a massive shortage. You know, I think there's this illusion that Brexit happened and then everyone who wasn't British left, but a lot of the guys on site right now are still lots of Albanians, Romanians, Polish workers. You know, they're everywhere on every site you go to. We just can't get the skills, certainly construction in Wales. I work with, I'm on the board for Gower College and their business school as well. And one thing we're looking at is training the students for the skills we need. So the reason for me being on there and another half a dozen people there is that businesses are trying to get the college to mold the courses to suit the businesses rather than us just ending up with people with the course they get. And they're doing some great things there. So, you know, it's whether it's not just construction, it's in accountancy, it's in every trade, it's in media. So they're doing simple things to help construction, for instance, is that up until recently, all of their courses, like their NVQs, and hold on a second, as you can hear, I'm in a shared office. All of the courses they've been doing, the NVQs, the safety courses, have all been, you know, 9 to 5. And then that means either I have to pay someone to not be in work to do a course, or they lose a day's pay. So I suggested last year to them that they run night courses. So they started doing these courses at night, and within days of advertising them, they've been sold out because You know, it's much better for a carpenter to do his NVQ at night than take a day off work and lose a few £100. Another thing we're trying to do as well is work with the college, is going into schools and sixth form careers and trying to convince students that construction's a good career to go into. You know, it's almost like the biggest hidden wealth in the world is that people see a high vis and a hard hat and assume these people are on the breadline. You know, bricklayers are earning £500 a day. You know, labourers are earning £15 an hour. You know, these people in, you know, QSs come straight out of college now and earn £35,000–40,000. So I think the thing is, if we can convince people 13 to 16 that construction is a fantastic career to go into and it's not a dirty career, you know, what that's going to mean then is that we're not going to solve it next year, but 5 to 10 years, these trades are coming through. And you know, even my own children, they see the success that construction's brought me and our family. Even when I mention to them about following me in construction, they say no, they want a proper job. And it's trying to get away from that mentality, you know, and trying to get people to understand that this is actually in a lot of countries, construction is a job to strive for. You know, you want to work in construction. I don't know when in the UK that it switched, and it's almost, you know, it's a bit like hospitality. Hospitality is a brilliant profession, but like construction, it's seen as a dirty, trade vocational rather than a profession. So yeah, we are trying to solve. You know, we can't solve this individually, but we are trying in the region to you know, upskill people and bring them into construction specifically.
Yeah, great to hear about some of those initiatives at Gower College and that focus on kind of employer engagement, and some lovely examples there about how we can tackle that, and the need to get that message out that this is a fantastic sector for career opportunities. Gus?
Yeah, I think one of the key things I'll pick up on, and we're obviously in the accounting sector, but we have a similar thing. We work with Gower College and looking at similar things. And one of the important messages, and we take this into schools, etc., is that you can not just their fantastic career opportunities, but the career opportunities exist within the region, within South West Wales. You know, so we see so many sort of talented, skilled people thinking that they need to go to Cardiff, go to Bristol, go to London to pursue careers. But construction, you know, and we're very passionate about building high-skilled, high-paid jobs within the region, within our industry. But again, construction is a sector where there are jobs in the region, there are opportunities in the region, and it's really an important message to get out to young people.
Yeah, young people and their parents as well. Really, really important. I'm not seeing any more waving hands, so there'll be future opportunities in today's session to come in on some of this, but thanks so much for our participants so far in sharing those insights, and there's a lot more to digest in the chat as well. But I'd like to move us on to our next question, which is perhaps a more positive framing of all of this, is an opportunity to just share what's happening and what are you excited about. So Mike picked us off in a way there, talking about some of those great examples. What are you excited about that's happening in the construction sector that you think are opportunities, good news stories, opportunities that we can share for training and other things? So what are you excited about in the construction sector? Have a little think, make a couple of notes. What are you excited about, and what would you like to share? Where do you see those chinks of light, those opportunities, and those things that we can share and shine a light on across South West Wales? So take a few moments to write down a couple of notes, and then I think I'll be keen for people to just come in and throw their opportunities into the mix. This is a chance to just share a brief update of what your own organisation is doing, flag up any upcoming events, or just talk more generally about those opportunity areas that you'd like us to know about and share. All right, who would like to flag up some opportunities as you see them? And let's have some women's voices in the room as well.
Can I share?
Yes, please.
So yesterday I was at the event in the arena with Peter and all the team, and I met a team from Tramshed, and they're going to be moving into the Palace Theatre. And I said to them, "Well, where are you living?" And they were living in Cardiff, and I just loved it. One of the ladies says, "But I absolutely love Swansea, and I think after the office moves over, I want to move here too. I love it. I love South West Wales. I love the Gower." And I just thought it's that opportunity. I've actually, yes, what the last was it Sid you were saying about people leaving? Sorry, no, it wasn't Sid. Bevan Buckton was saying people leaving, but now there's a increased sense of people wanting to come. And I just thought that was brilliant, and I was really encouraged by her and that kind of message. So thanks.
Yes, we love to hear that, don't we? That the message about how great South West Wales is as a place to live and work is getting through. What are others excited about? What are you excited about?
I'll just say, as someone who's made that move from London to South West Wales, and you know, and love it here. I was born in Wales but brought up in London. I completely concur, and I think for me it's really exciting that you know, places like Swansea should be the best places to live and work in the UK. It's, you know, there are some things which you just can't beat here, and you know, we are definitely seeing the you know, the shoots of that growth. I think the Swansea bid, the regeneration of Swansea, you know, people are beginning to get things right, and I think that is part of that longer term story. The main thing is to attract people to work and live here, and I you know, I think that will bring huge opportunity. You know, there's a huge need for commercial premises, commercial property. You know, I think we need to sort of figure that that part of it out. But yeah, I think you know, we're big believers in singing the praises of region as a place to live, work, and do business, and that's really you know, that's the key chink of light.
Absolutely, thank you, Gus. Elvid from Pobble, lovely to see you.
Hi, yeah, great to be here. And sorry, I've been a bit shy up to now, but what I'm really looking forward to this year. Okay, so there are 3 projects in Swansea which I've been working for with colleagues for, goodness knows, 10 years, in some cases, and finally this year they're literally going to blossom and come to the sort of public attention. And one of the projects is the biophilic living project on Oxford Street in Swansea City Centre. So this is a project, if you're not aware of it, where we're building with HASA mixed-use development, redevelopment of the old Woolworths or pound stretcher building. So there's going to be sort of an 11-story building at the end of it, and the upper 7 stories are all going to be flats, affordable flats. But the thing that's really special about it, and what I wanted to sort of make people aware of, was the fact that we're doing like an urban garden so we're infusing the building with plants and greenhouses and opportunities for people to grow vegetables on upper levels of the building. So that's really, I'm really looking forward to seeing that nearing completion towards the end of the year. We're redeveloping the old Town Hill campus. We've rebranded it Beacon Hill, but it's the old Town Hill campus in Town Hill, and that's really going to take shape this year as well. Another project, you know, we've been involved in for years and years and years, and that's something about development. You have dreams, and they start with drawings and maybe CGIs. I know Dawn, your company, worked on those for us, and they will look fantastic, but nothing beats actually seeing things being completed. And then finally we're doing 144 houses in Penrhayol, Gwynfaine. One of the most, I suppose, sustainable projects that I've ever been involved in, utilising Welsh timber, you know, sort of developing zero carbon ready, sort of near zero carbon ready homes for people to buy or to rent. So there's a home there for everybody. And one of the key things about that is really pushing the sort of role of landscape in improving the way housing developments are developed as well. And Swansea can be very proud that we've got numerous projects like that taking shape and starting to sort of show what they really look like in this year. So I'm really excited about that. And of course, we are working with local contractors. You know, we have Hale, we have Morganstone, we have HASA. All the architects and engineers are locally trained as well. And, you know, all these projects have clauses about community benefits or, you know, sort of social benefits and apprenticeships as well. And the key thing here, obviously, is that there's a massive opportunity for local people to learn about, you know, installing and managing and maintaining things like heat pumps and batteries and ventilation systems, things that we're going to need legions of people to manage and maintain those systems in the future. This is why it's absolutely important that they need to be in South Wales. Anyway, I won't go on.
Thank you, Elvid. Yeah, there's a huge opportunity in the supply chain of housing associations, particularly around those sustainable construction projects and making sure we have got the firms to deliver those sustainable construction services in our region. Peter, please do come in.
Yeah, just quickly, and I know Elvid's just described what I was trying to talk about earlier on about local companies working together and supporting each other. So yes, it does happen. It is happening. But you know, the talk about why people might want to live here, people being persuaded to live here. I think this is one of the big opportunities that we have as a collective working together is to sell the region to the rest of the world as well. You know, sort of be people aware of the opportunities that do exist here. I mean, how many times yesterday morning, those of you that were there, did people say, "Oh, well, I was born around here and I went to school around here, but I left to further my career, and then 30 years later I came back." I heard that 3 or 4 times from the speakers, you know, and you think that's what we've got to try and stop. That's the opportunity that we have, is to stop that happening. It's not going to happen immediately. You know, it's going to take a little bit of time. But when you look at the investment that's coming into the region across a number of different planes, and it's not just, I'm not talking just from the perspective of the city deal here, but things that are happening that are going to raise the focus of South West Wales to the rest of the world. And I say the West of the world because I really truly do mean that. You know, the work that is being done to you know, by ambassadors for Wales abroad as well. I think it's positivity. That's the opportunity we've got, is to be really positive about what's about to happen. Swansea is probably one of the biggest growing cities in the UK at the moment as far as investment and potential that's about to happen very soon. And then the spell out opportunity from that is the halo effect that happens across the region. And yeah, I mean, where else can you live in a city where you could potentially walk for 10 minutes to the sea? You could walk to a 3,500 seat arena within 5 minutes from the seaside. You could walk into the city centre in 5 minutes from there. You know, it's you can live in the city centre. There's some very nice properties that are being built. The opportunities are massive, and it's getting that message out, I think, is the key thing.
Yes.
I'll just apologise as well if I seem a bit distracted. I've got a pair of kites mating outside of my window. That's another advantage for living in West Wales.
Lovely, lovely. Yeah, great. Thanks, Peter. Yeah. We often say that South West Wales is surely the best place to live and work in the whole of the UK, and that actually over coming decades, you know, more and more people will realise that importance of living in an area where you can access green spaces and where we are blessed with such a fantastic natural environment, friendly communities, and hopefully, as we've been talking about today, business and career opportunities to go with it. Zoe, yes, please do come in.
Yeah, just that yes, it's nice to try and attract people in, but we have masses of people here in South West Wales who don't know the opportunities. We are all around this table here are in a really privileged position that we get to hear about all the exciting opportunities available. It's the biggest opportunity is trying to get them from outside this room into communities. And as Dawn mentioned earlier, not just to young people, but to the parents and the influencers and the lecturers that are in the colleges, to understand what the opportunities in the construction sector are available. You know, how exciting to hear the sort of wages that Michael was referencing earlier, like how exciting for young people to think, my goodness me, can I actually earn that sort of money if I go and train and do this? That's the opportunity. But the opportunity is for our young people and people in our region now existing here, so that they can get good, well-paid jobs, and they can stay in Southwest Wales and maybe hopefully buy a house in the communities that they've grown up in. But it's the opportunity is to make them feel good and happy and positive about that there are opportunities here for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Dawn, if I could just jump in there, picking up on that, I think the thing that I'm thinking at the minute is the rise of the apprentice, and I think over the last sort of, I'd say 10 years, kind of year on year, it's grown in terms of more opportunity, more flexibility, and I think picking up on what Zoe was saying, that actually I think the ask from me as from a big employer, you know, I've been based down here for 20 years, and I was is kind of making that more visible, so that to allow us to access it, because it's a bit more tricky in Wales compared to England, and then from the other side then is actually making those more visible to potential apprentices to grow the skills, because we're struggling. I think the visa rules are about to change next month, which is gonna really damage trying to get the skills in from abroad, and also getting university students in from abroad as well, because they're going to be put off coming here. So it's the skills challenge is ever more important. So yeah, I'm really excited about that kind of the apprentice route in. So it's just, for me, it's just making that more visible.
Yeah, really important there. And if those rules are changing, it shines the light even more on the importance of those homegrown skills, homegrown talent. And as Zoe said so passionately there, making sure those opportunities are here for local people to thrive. Daniel.
Yeah, thanks, Dawn. Almost touching on Zoe's point, and just sort of elaborating there, we ran an event in conjunction with Swansea Council, the community work team, 2 weeks ago in the Opportunities Hub in Swansea Quadrant, where, you know, not only focusing on, you know, the younger generation and parents and sort of signposting the way there, there's an opportunity for re-employability as well, and helping people who are out of work or looking for new pathways into work, particularly for the construction sector. So we provide a number of essential skills for the construction sector, ranging from CSCS cards, etc., where we almost acted as that bridge between working with local authority, with the community work team, understanding we have cohorts of learners which we've upskilled, we've developed, and we've trained with some essential skills which would be beneficial to the construction industry. Then also knowing we've got supply chain at the other end, you know, with recruitment issues, skills gap, shortages, etc. And we almost acted as that sort of that bridge between the two, where we had a lot of tier one contractors, R&M Williams, Morganstone, Kia, just to name a few, within that event, where we were able to present the opportunity to these individuals who are out of work, they have been made redundant, or they are sort of seeking employment, by sort of giving them the skills and then putting them in front of these suppliers, these employers. You know, I know R&M Williams as a direct impact from that event employed 2 individuals, and I think it links back to the conversation we had at the start of the meeting, where we're talking about you know, the likes of Bouygues, for example, you know, these tier one contractors. I think a lot of the time we need to look at ourselves and what are we doing as businesses, as local businesses. You know, we're an SME ourselves. But sometimes it's down to us to look at what are we actually doing to put ourselves out there, to collaborate, and obviously support the local supply chain. You know, on the back of that event, I'd like to think, even if, you know, it's just the 2 individuals, but we've been able to take 2 individuals which we have trained, We've been able to impact a large contractor with work going on down Swansea Marina. And that for me is collaboration in work and practice. But that doesn't happen unless you are prepared to obviously try and make those things happen yourselves. It was just a very much a brainstorm idea we had between ourselves here and Amita with Swansea Council with the community work team. But on the back of those events, we've created opportunity and supported local supply chains. So I think we also need to take responsibility for that to happen too.
Great to hear, and very much aligned. We're delighted to have you guys as members. That's the mission, isn't it? What can we do within our own businesses and organisations to support this broader agenda for the region? Thanks so much, Daniel. And we were in a meeting a week or two ago in Neath Port Talbot talking about the steelworks and the potential redundancies there, and where are those sectors in our region that could offer opportunities for those people to retrain and find new pathways into work. And surely our construction sector is that big employer, but a sector that can employ large numbers of people with those transferable skills. And so it's a great example there of how we could link up to provide those pathways for local people. Catherine, yes, please do come in.
Hello, just saying hi quickly. So we are very excited. We are actually one of the contractors who are doing work on site at the Pentre Well. So it is very local companies that are getting the opportunity to do it as well. And also to just touch base on the collaboration, we work a lot with Alpha Safety. We get our CSCS cards done with them. We obviously provide recruitment as well. So if there's people who are struggling and need staff, it's something we can provide and help out with. So it's just to touch base on what you've said previously about the collaboration within companies. We are lucky where we can actually provide quite a lot of things. We are 3 individual companies under one. So, and it's just about, as I think Dan said, about getting the names out there and letting people know of exactly what they do and what they can actually help you with.
Yes, Catherine, introduce yourself. Which company are you here representing?
CSA Service Group.
Great to meet you. Thank you. Lovely. Well, I think that's been a really great and broad-ranging discussion, hasn't it, about how there are these huge opportunities, that there is opportunity for us to collaborate to really capitalize on those for the benefit of people living here in our region. And as a region that is offering such great quality of life and all those well-being benefits, these are changing times and our region needs to respond. One of the things is we need affordable housing in South West Wales so that people can continue to live here, and our construction sector has a role to play in making sure we're building enough homes, the right sort of homes in the right places that are sustainable for the future, and the opportunities in that whole infrastructure supply chain clearly huge. And I really appreciate the light that has been shone on local firms working together and what we can all do within our own organisations. If we get this right, I think we could see huge well-being benefits for South West Wales. And as Peter Austin pointed out at the beginning of the call, a huge amount of effort and work is being done and has been for a number of years to try and address these opportunities through local authorities, through the training organisations and colleges in our region. But it all needs to be amplified, and we need to reach out to those small businesses, small contractors in the construction sector, and make sure they are hearing these conversations. And Mike's point about evening courses being much more accessible to people who are not able to miss a day's work or a day's pay to attend events like this and training, that gives us an idea, doesn't it, about holding these sorts of conversations and events at times when small businesses can attend, whether that's the evenings or at weekends, to really engage with the sector and the small SMEs across the sector. And great to see organisations like Kovler providing those shared apprenticeships across firms. There are really brilliant highlights that we would love to shine a light on as part of these conversations. Lydia, I'm going to come to you for a brief intermission now, where we hear from some of our members who have got an opportunity just to talk briefly about what they do. Obviously, some of that may have been covered in the contributions we've already heard, but we'd love to provide that opportunity for us, a few of our members to take the mic and introduce themselves. So Lydia, over to you.
Thanks, Dawn. Yes, love doing this part of the call each month. Just a time when we can shine light on 2 or 3 of our members, and they just take a couple of minutes each to share some kind of insight, news, opportunity. So we're really strict with the time. It's just 2 minutes each. Some of these you will have heard from already. And first of all, I just want to introduce back into the room. So if you could mute yourself in a moment, is Dan. So Daniel Ahern, he is the General Manager of Alpha Safety Training. So they're one of Wales's largest providers of training based here in Wales, South West Wales. We've already heard one of the ladies say that they use them already. So they specialise in accredited training for occupational and construction health and safety. And so Dan, I'd love for you just to share for 2 minutes with us, which would be brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lydia. Almost already touched upon a few of the points. So just to sort of re-establish, we're Alpha Safety Training. We're based in our Swansea headquarters. We also have a site in Cardiff. We've been operating since 2009 across South Wales. Take great pride in supporting clients either at our centres or also off-site. We do a lot of on-site training, so the convenience factor for our learners at their own workplaces. Nice to see a lot of friendly faces we already work with. We've got Lynette, who actually is from Cyfla, and also works with us from CITB. So we are a CITB approved training organisation, which means we're able to support the construction sector through courses and accreditations, which obviously benefit CITB registered companies by supporting things like their grant claims, which basically supports the company then in making sure they get their grant achievements back, which I work quite closely with Lynette on to support the Carmarthenshire region through our Swansea headquarters. As Lydia mentioned, we focus in construction training in particular, so we run anything from CSCS cards supporting entry to the construction site, or obviously higher tiered CSCS cards, manager level, so on. But then we also support a lot of the niche skills, so things such as site safety through the CITB training range, site safety products, right through to things like confined spaces, forklift training, IPAF training, or also known as cherry pickers and scissor lifts for the more common name to break it down. But yeah, we prioritise and focus a lot of the skill sets within the Swansea region. And we nice to see a lot of other friendly faces we work with already. So we've got Joan from John Weavers, for example. But yeah, that's us in a nutshell.
No, it's great. And Dan and the team have just come on board as members. And funnily enough, I was just with them this morning. You know, you guys, Dan, you are the real deal in terms of just the way that you're looking to collaborate and connect. And Leon, who's about to speak, we were together, the 3 of us this morning, because they gathered like, was it 250 Easter eggs to give to the Trussell Trust? And it was just brilliant to see that you're for kind of your own business's development, but also just kind of feeding back into, you know, to give something good to charity, to be involved with the community. So thank you for that. So that brings me straight over to Leon. He's head of sales at Greenlight Technology Solutions, a family-run business providing IT support for the last 20 years, based in Forest Fire. So yeah, Leon, if you'd like to unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you for a couple of minutes.
Yep, hello. Yeah, so as I'm Leon Jones, now the head of sales, was business development manager within Greenlight. I planned out this speech on what I was going to say and what I was going to do, but then I thought, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to wing it. So with ourselves here, we're a managed IT support provider, also specialise in providing broadband and telecoms. Going back, I'd say in terms of what I want to say today is what the benefits that we found are coming into for the region. In terms of with the construction and contracts, I find we've worked on some contracts where there's places that we specialise in, And the connections that I build in terms of meetings like this, going forward, is going back to the points earlier, for example, with Michael and Dan, in terms of staying local and using local businesses. This is the great thing about stuff like for the region, is the people that I meet. There's a few people, friendly faces that I recognise and share that I've worked with, but I know in terms of other construction stages of what we do. So, for example, if you're obviously in the middle of a construction site, and where we come in terms of the networking and the data points is, if it's a big project, we've got like a data point, people who put the data points in, and I've got a point of contact that I will always stay local with, who I know and I trust. And when I'm going into jobs where I'm asked, oh, do you have someone that knows in terms of specializes in this, I'm building connections going forward, especially in meetings like this, where we can all work together. And yeah, that's where I've benefited from using For the Region. And again, yeah, we'd meeting with Dan and this morning with the eggs. Obviously, we're completely different businesses in what we do. Obviously, the safety training, we do IT support, but we had that common goal in terms of collaborating and working together. And this morning, taking the eggs down, just the giving back. It's not all about in terms of us using each other's businesses. We still come together in other aspects of life, just to benefit others, and I find that's essential anyway.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's
brilliant. Thank you, Leon. Thank you so much.
No
and I noticed that Dan, you've already popped your details in the chat for people that might want to follow up and connect. And Leon, if you could do the same, that would be brilliant. So that brings us on finally to William. William, you were sharing with us earlier in the call. So William's the founder of Silverstone Green Energy, and you're based over in Pembrokeshire, aren't you? So your team has been delivering renewables since 2011, if I'm right. So that's domestic, commercial, and utility sectors. So William, we'd love to hear from you now. That would be great.
Hi, thank you very much for that, Lydia. Right, I've got a single slide, which when I work out how to put it into the chat, you'll have all of the statistics. What I wanted to just talk about was the size and the opportunity in retrofit. So for those of you who don't know, retrofit is where we go back to a property that's already been built and we refit that house or building of any form in order to make it meet the environmental standards that we require for 2050. So to that end, 80% of the housing stock that we will have in 2050 already exists. So that gives you an idea of the size of the opportunity. The average cost of a retrofit project for a dwelling, this is £60,000. So the South Wales region has in the region of 328,000 dwellings. 328,000 dwellings at £60,000 each is a £19.7 billion opportunity. So if we scale that down and we say things are going to get cheaper in the future and we'll miss a bit of our target. So if we scale it down by roughly 30%, we get to £14 billion market over a 25-year period. That means a yearly spend on labour alone is £140 million in our region. Okay, so that's an equivalent to 4,000 jobs. And here I'm talking about the region as in the South West Wales region as defined by Welsh Government. So Pembrokeshire, Carmarthenshire, Swansea and Neath Port Talbot. So if that's 4,000 jobs, if each job is paid £35,000 a year on average, okay? So that includes the people in the office, the construction people, the people on site, the people doing the organising, the administrators, etc. But in addition to that, we sort of like work out around about 25% of these contract value is in overheads and profits for the organisation that pulls that together. If we get local entrepreneurs to do that work, if through the procurement practices of the organisations concerned, they break the projects down, instead of giving 1,000 houses at a time and then saying only a tier 1 contractor of an A grade standard that exists only in England can do this project. But if they say, well, we'll do them in lots of 100 houses or 50 houses at a time, and then we can give that to local contractors, then the opportunity for local entrepreneurs is £3.5 billion over the next 25 years. So I've got all the numbers there. They're all backed up with the government, etc. And That's the size of the retrofit opportunity. So when we're talking to school kids, when we're talking to people who are fed up in their job and ready for their next career, the opportunity for the next 5 years is massive.
Staggering.
But the training requirement that we touched on earlier in the call is also massive, and that's the evening courses. That's getting people skilled up to make these things. But if
Thank you, William.
someone else can take it.
Brilliant, thank you. And you're going to pop you popped it in the chat already.
Slide with all of that, and I'll pop it into the
Brilliant. Please put it in the chat, and please, for everybody, there's so much. The chat is just full today of opportunities, insights, different comments. So please, if you haven't popped open your chat already, please take a look before you leave the call. And Dawn, I believe I'm right in saying that the chat will be available afterwards when we release the recording of the call, if that's correct.
Yeah, and a full report of notes from today with those links from the chat as well. Zoe, would you like to offer a little update now?
Yeah, no problem. Just as a reminder, this meeting, our monthly meetups go on the third Thursday of every month on the same Zoom link, as Dawn mentioned in the intro. There's around different topics, but we would welcome you to join us for all of these conversations. Your input is really invaluable. The next one coming up is about young people. Just to give you a bit of background of some of the things that we're up to, procurement is incredibly passionate to us for the region. We hear it from all different sectors, and one of the projects that we're working on at the moment is with the public service boards at Swansea Council and Neath Port Talbot Council, where we're exploring how do we put local food on the public plate. And it's concluding in the end of March, but hopefully the model and the principles will be the same as we've been discussing today about that. Look, how do we make sure that public services are leading the way and using local supply chain? So believe it when I say that we are at For the Region really working hard behind the scenes to push the voice of local suppliers from across all different sectors. And please come to us if you have ideas. We're open to our members sharing ideas with us around organising events or targeting different organisations to do things better, or to host these sort of discussions where we can have an open forum to discuss the challenges and opportunities. So please keep in touch with us. If you're not a member and you're wondering what is everyone talking about membership, For the Region doesn't exist without the fabulous support of our lovely members, whether they are big organisations, SMEs in the region, or one-man bands. If you don't know what that means, the lovely Lydia would be happy to discuss that with you. We are an alliance of people, businesses and organisations that are trying to co-create a happier, healthier South West Wales with a thriving economy. And many of you are on the line are members already, but anyone who isn't, please get in touch. And as Dawn mentioned, we will be putting together a report and using the video for this to go into the report. Many of you haven't spoken up, but if you have information that you'd like us to put in the report, I know Carly's already sent me some information on support for the construction industry that she has around health and safety and well-being, well-being in particular. So please share us the information so that we put out the report to the construction networks that we have. All the information is there for them. I think that's, I'll share in the link about other events that we've got coming up as well. So please join us for the future.
Thank you. I have shared a link to our impact survey, and there's a couple of minutes now where you could complete that while we conclude the meeting. But what haven't we covered today? If you're sitting there quietly, we've got literally 5 minutes reserved at the end of the call to hear some different voices. Who would like to share any final thoughts, particularly about what you would love to see? What would you love to see? A final moment if you feel like your voice has not been heard in this afternoon's call. What would you love to see? What would you love to see? You might use these. Yes.
Sorry,
Carly,
I'd just like
yes.
to having worked in the construction industry and also now in a job with wellbeing side of things, there is an improvement in wellbeing in the construction industry, but I'd also like to see or help promote a project I'm working on, which offers self-employed, unemployed people access to mental health support, physiotherapy. It's to keep people in work, prevent them from going on sick, and to support them in the workplace.
Brilliant. Thank you for bringing that onto the call, Carly. And yes, the opportunity for us to share that is there. Thank you. Gordon.
Thanks.
Hi, sorry, I've been coming from a different angle. I just want to say it's a really good time for city centre development or town centre development, insofar as the big operators are moving out and we have to look at them in a new way. We work in Urban Foundry approaching vitality from lots of different angles, trying to bring different people in. We're starting at the absolute empty units, meanwhile uses and pop-ups and so on, bringing in different sorts of activities, but we have to regenerate or help regenerate our city centres, our town centres and villages with a new range of social activities, not just shopping, which has tended to fall apart. And so it's a wonderful time to bring in new ideas. And I was hoping to see some of that discussion. I mean, it's not a criticism. That was where I was coming from, was to try and see a new approach to how we approach our urban centres. And I'd like to think that we're making a bit of a contribution to that. We work all over South Wales and are employed by local authorities in the main to help regenerate centres. I have just put in a proposal for a tenement type development right in the middle of the centre, and we've done a lot of work with Pobble on buildings in the city centre already. We're up in the old police station with the urban kitchen. But housing is the main thing in the city centre, to regenerate that old city form that we used to have before the war, before it was all lost. That was what was good for business, was loads of people living in the city centres. And if you like, that's our ambition. So I'd like to see, there's a wonderful space just near where I live here at St. David's, where there's a opportunity to regenerate some of the old tenement type housing, so-called tenement housing, row housing, if you think New York.
Fantastic. Yeah. And
I think we should go for it.
Gordon has written a really interesting and important paper about the importance of town. Give Us More Town, I think it's called. And I would encourage colleagues to look that up, because it's all that sort of insight about what makes a successful place. And I share your view that it would be great to elaborate on that discussion more through these forums, thinking differently about how we approach development and regeneration, breathing life into our towns and cities. Absolutely, really, really important discussion.
Can I just say a quick one, Dawn, before we go?
Yes.
And I've talked a lot anyway. I'm a huge believer in little things making a big impact. So what I decided to do after Christmas, you might have seen me on Facebook actually, Dawn, if you're still on there, but I noticed on social media, Swansea Council, every time they posted something really good news, it would just get slated. It would just be, what about the potholes? What about council? What are this? Every time. So what I've started doing, I follow Swansea on all social media, and I always put a positive comment up. So every time they put a post about we're doing this, I say just something simple like, fantastic news, well done, guys. Yeah. And I used to get hammered, but now more and more people are starting to put positive things on. So if all of us here, I'll follow Neath Port Talbot as well, actually, now. But if we could just put little positive things on and give the council positive feedback as well when they deserve it, I think it'd be great, because Swansea are doing fantastic things. Neath Port Talbot doing fantastic things, Carmarthenshire. And I think we should celebrate it, not just keep hammering the councils all the time, which a lot of us are guilty of doing, let's be honest. So
I totally agree with you there, Michael. I've been wanting to speak, but I can't put my hand up. So I thought I'd just come in after you, Michael. I hope that's okay. Totally agree. There does seem to be a lot of negativity on social media, so it's really nice. I do exactly the same. So I'm with you. I probably liked your comments many a time. So one other thing. So I'm Amanda Podesta and I work for Business Wales for Big Ideas Wales. At the minute, I went to the event yesterday in Swansea Arena, And obviously there's a lot of businesses on here, and you know, that are actively maybe looking to grow and what have you. So there's quite a lot of funding through the SPF grants at the minute. So I'm not sure if any of you are aware. If you did want support or anything through that, then you can contact me. I'll put my email address in the chat in a minute, and then we can have a meeting through Business Wales, and the growth team can speak with you and support you then with any SPF grant funding that you require. Okay, so I just thought I'd put that out there. Also on the apprenticeships, there's also Business in Focus are working with Focus Futures at the minute, so to work on apprenticeships as well, which is really important. And also one other little thing, I thought about maybe you as businesses contacting the local schools for maybe work experience. They could, you know, to see what it's like to work in the construction industry with colleges and things like that, to try and boost them to, if they have a little trial, then maybe that would encourage them to work in the industry. So, but thank you. Sorry, I know I've run over, but I just thought I'd say hi. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for just taking that opportunity. Absolutely, speak up. And great message to end on, I think, about speaking positively and adding our positive vibes into what can be quite toxic social media diatribes. So yeah, speaking up where we hear about good practice, championing the great stuff that is happening, not always bashing the stuff we'd like to see more of, but championing the good stuff and being that positive force for our region. I really hope today's conversation has been interesting and valuable for some of you. Please do take a moment to complete our impact survey. It helps us to make sure that these events are useful and to track what impact we're making. And thanks for supporting these monthly meetups. As Zoe says, we'll be back next month talking about young people, and that's bound to be a broad-ranging discussion. I'd like to ask everyone to unmute and say goodbye, and all that remains for me to do is to thank you all very much for your time this afternoon. Bye for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.